So today is Easter Saturday, the day between the horror of Jesus' death by crucifixion on Good Friday and the joy and celebration of resurrection on Sunday, our Easter day. Perhaps for many of us it's not one of the most significant days in the events of Easter week. It's not the triumphant entry into Jerusalem with Jesus riding on the donkey, or the emotion of the arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's not the days of trial and torture that followed, leading up to his death. It's a day of loss, of confusion, despair. It's a day of waiting and wondering. It was a day to trust that the promises of God would be realised, that joy and hope and peace would be restored. Looking back at my childhood, I don't think Easter Saturday meant very much to me at all. It came after Good Friday, which was great. It was a day off school, and it was before Easter Sunday and the arrival of the chocolate Easter eggs. As a teenager, I would have been working at my Saturday job, which just meant it was a busier day in the shop as people were making the most of the bank holiday weekend. And even in more recent years, I'm not sure that I've paid much attention to Easter Saturday. But this year, I've been thinking about what it would have felt like to those who loved and followed Jesus, who stood by as Jesus was placed on the cross and watched as his lifeless body was taken down and put in that cold tomb. The day that Jesus was arrested was a day full of fear for the disciples. They hid away, frightened for their own lives. Everyone deserted him and fled. And even on Easter morning, they were still hiding together behind locked doors. So what was it like for those disciples, those friends of Jesus? They thought they knew Jesus. They'd been with him for 3 years. They'd heard him speak, they'd seen the miracles. His friend Simon Peter had even said, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." They thought they understood what Jesus wanted from them. They'd left their families, their homes, their jobs. What more could they give him? What more did he want? How could he just leave them now? So what was it like waking up that morning, the first morning after his death? What were they supposed to do now? Where were they supposed to go? Who was going to lead them? It was as if everything they knew, everything they trusted had disappeared in a moment. Everything had changed. Of course there was grief. Of course there was a sense of loss. This was their dearest friend who had died. That was just natural. I wonder if there was also disbelief. Their Messiah, they had been taught that their Messiah would never leave them, would never forsake them. Hundreds of years before the birth of Jesus, the prophet Isaiah spoke, "Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my promise of peace removed." Did that feel true today? Where was the Messiah now? He was lying cold and dead in a tomb. Did they feel that he was with them? Or did they feel abandoned and on their own? Perhaps they were angry. Surely they had given him everything, and now they were left with nothing, fearing for their lives. And feelings of hopelessness. How could they go on now? What was the point of it all? How could they trust him? In the darkest of times, the disciples felt afraid and overwhelmed. And maybe some of us have felt like that too. You see, in the midst of all their pain, they'd forgotten what Jesus had told them, the promises that he had said. You see, he had told them. He'd told them clearly. It says he spoke clearly on this matter. Jesus had already said that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed. They were living that. But they'd forgotten that he had also said, and after 3 days, he will rise again. And sometimes we get so lost in the despair of the moment, we forget that that isn't the full story. The disciples should not have been surprised by his death, but resurrection was not yet their experience. You and I, we have the benefit of hindsight. We can look back and see that resurrection morning came and that they went to the tomb and Jesus had risen again. We can know without doubt that all the promises of God are yes and amen in Christ Jesus. The disciples were yet to experience that. And when they did, their lives were transformed. They suddenly understood who Jesus really is. And the despair of Easter Saturday was gone. So today, if you're feeling lost and alone, hopeless, wondering what it is God has in store for you, just remember that his promises are true and trustworthy. His promises say, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." That say that he will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because we trust in him. He said, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. He has overcome the world." And those who hope on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. After the fear came resurrection. After the resurrection comes victorious hope and joy. Happy Easter, everyone.